There's no better example of liberty and freedom being robbed from the United States than the current prohibition of cannabis. There's nothing illegal against 44-ounce big gulps. There's nothing against all the food at every store down the road being processed meats, deep fat fried, bleached white flour. People don't die from cannabis. They die from eating bad. They die from alcohol. They die from drinking and driving. I've gone to the 420 celebration in Denver several times. It's, approximately 80,000 people consuming cannabis at a concert. And the interesting thing about it is, they're usually playing rap music, at least for a part of the time, and, fairly intense and aggressive, but nobody's getting in fights. Nobody's vomiting. Nobody's urinating in public. Nobody's crashing their cars. Now imagine if you had 80,000 people taking shots of whiskey watching a concert. What would that scene be like? Yet we don't want to take away people's freedom to choose to consume alcohol if they're of legal age and if they're not driving. We don't want to take away people's freedom to put bad food and bad soda and sugary drinks in their bodies. But yet, something that grows out of the ground, which has infinitely more medical purposes than most people are aware of, and we're even aware of. It seems absolutely ridiculous to me. Alcohol is made through a process of fermentation and is legitimately a poison and a carcinogen. Now, don't get me wrong, turning cannabis into smoke, into CO2, it's not 100% ideal, but that's not the only thing it's used for. It can be used for textiles. It can be used as a topical. And here's the really cool thing about that. The non-transdermal lotions that they make with THC and CBD, or in places where THC is illegal, just CBD, your body has more cannabinoid receptors in it than any other type of receptor. They're called CB1 and CB2 receptors. So I believe it's the CB1 that's in your skin. And the cool thing is, if you've got inflammation in your joints, something underneath the skin, you can use a topical that's non-transdermal, so it doesn't soak into your skin, it doesn't get into your bloodstream, it doesn't show up on a drug test or intoxicate you in any way. It simply makes contact with those receptors, and they send signals to the inflammation and reduce that. Now imagine, isn't it a little bit better to reduce inflammation with a topical lotion than having to put something through your kidneys and liver constantly every day? Another great thing about cannabis, it slows and even stops the growth of tumors and the spread of metastasis. Everybody here knows a cancer survivor. They have one in their family. They have been one. And it just seems like, an extreme injustice to take away a legitimate treatment from people who actually need it. And for why? As I actually became informed and knowledgeable in this on this subject, I realized that this is literally one of the biggest thefts of our liberty as Americans. And I didn't really understand why all this stuff was happening. There's a documentary that was made before 2014 when cannabis became legal in Colorado called The Union. I'll put that up in a graphic. Look this up. It's on YouTube. I think it's on Netflix. If you want to see an interesting history and implications and some crazy stuff, look up The Union. Now, I'm guessing most of you guys, regardless of your political background, feel the same way as me, that politicians serve themselves more than they serve us, the voters. They serve their future election, and they serve their campaign contributors and lobbyists' interests. So we have all these for-profit prisons. We pay our taxpayer dollars for these things to run, and it's really expensive to keep people in there. Yet we still have a huge amount of people incarcerated over nonviolent drug offenses, over cannabis offenses. So that's extremely profitable for corporations who lobby and influence our elected officials. That is not to benefit the taxpayer. That's not to benefit the voter that they put in. That is to benefit a private, very small entity, the interest of a very small amount of people, or a single person even. That's not intended to benefit society. It's not intended to benefit our community financially. Harvesting people's freedom for profit is not good. So, yes, some people do need to be in prison, but I think we need to dramatically reassess where we're putting our taxpayer dollars, and are we doing productive things that actually help our society, help our young people grow to have prosperous lives, to help those who are in need, and places that are going through challenges to get through them? Or are we just going to spend our money, making profit off of stealing people's freedom for what? Something that's far, far, far less damaging than alcohol, and claims, there's not a single recorded case of death from THC that I'm aware of. Not a single one. I can't even count the amount of deaths. I think heart disease is the number one killer of people, and the top reason for it is sugar, processed sugar consumption. Now, again, I'm not a doctor, but people are dying from things that we don't even see as bad. Yet something that's not killing people is taking taxpayer dollars to rob people's liberty and freedom. More people are spending more of their private dollars to make sure that we keep wasting taxpayer dollars to regulate something that is far less damaging and can be far more beneficial than many of these other things we choose to accept into our lives. I don't know what school lunches are like now, but I can promise you that crap that they served us back when I was in high school in USD 260 and USD 259 in the middle of Kansas, that stuff was not healthy in any way whatsoever. You wonder why kids are growing up fat and unhealthy. Well, somebody somewhere is making profit off of shoveling square pieces of supposed pizza dough filled with grease and fake cheese and what kind of cheese. The stuff that they served us in high school was horrific. But yeah, that right there, that should be a prisonable offense, not somebody with glaucoma or a person who chooses to de-stress with cannabis instead of alcohol if they believe they need to have some sort of chemical help them. Pills, gosh, it's just a normal thing. There's so much profit in it. There's so many narcotics out there that are far, far, far more dangerous and addictive than cannabis. It just to me seems absolutely, positively ridiculous. Just the topical use alone. Again, I think that it's an amazing, it's a beneficial part of that. And what are you going to do? You're not gonna eat it and get high. So kids aren't going to get a hold of the topical and get high or anything. So it's literally illegal in the state of Kansas for someone to have a topical cream that they cannot get intoxicated from, but would help them medically. But you can go and get a prescription one with all kinds of crazy narcotics that are transdermal, that'll soak through your skin, that'll do all this stuff, and we're paying taxpayer dollars to help with the different insurance elements, but it just, what a mess. Come on, guys. So, I'm not saying anybody should be using cannabis. I'm absolutely not promoting it for young people or anybody under the age of 21. I've read that it slows cognitive development, brain development up to age 25. I'm not advocating for anybody to consume it at all, but I am advocating for everybody to recognize that regulating something like cannabis, regulating cannabis specifically, is not only a huge theft of your liberty and freedom as an American. I think it's bringing more damage to our society than it is good by having this prohibition regulation still going on at the end of 2022. My closing note is that an informed opinion is an ethical opinion. And if you don't have enough information to form an informed opinion, you're doing yourself and anyone else that opinion affects a disservice. It's impossible to make an ethical decision without the proper information. If you formed your opinion without knowledge on the subject, then you're doing yourself and your community a disservice. Check out The Union, learn a little bit about the benefits of cannabis, and start learning about all these other things I mentioned, about how damaging they can be. Now go enjoy your freedom every other way you'd like. Use your free speech. Go out to the shooting range. Do whatever you want. Enjoy your freedoms. And while you're enjoying them, just think for a minute. Should we really be letting our government tell us that we can't make textiles out of a plant that grows out of the ground, or rub it on our skin, or choose to consume it in any way we want? Is that really the American way?